Very nice watches, sold by awful people. The Rolex GMT-Master was built specifically for pilots. Now most pilots can't even buy one. You don't need flight hours, you need clout. It's not scarcity, it's theater. Let's take a closer look at the lore and the lies. This is the story of how a tool watch lost its purpose and became a legend. This is Pilot Watch Gouge. In 1955, at the Chrysler Building in Manhattan, Pan American World Airways hosted a meeting that would have a significant impact on aviation and watches. It's almost funny. Jet lag didn't even exist until the 1950s, but pilots were already trying to beat it with a bezel. And why the red and blue colors? Well, people have been lying to you about this for decades. Juan Trippe, founder and CEO of Pan American World Airways, personally directed the airline's crew rest and jet lag mitigation study, which concluded in 1954 that the best protocol was to keep its crews on home time for the duration of their time away from base. When Pan American called the meeting, Rolex sent René-Paul Jeanneret, Rolex head of public relations, though PR man barely covers it. Inside Rolex, Jeanneret was the brand's jack of all trades. Liaison, strategist, problem solver, the man who turned ideas into steel. Leading the task force for Pan American was Captain Frederick Libby, who was one of those names that deserved to be better known. Libby flew in World War I. After the war, he drifted back into aviation as a navigator and technical advisor. Pan American needed a watch that could track multiple time zones to keep their crews in sync. Dual-time watches weren't new. Glycine had its airmen in 1953, but this was the first one built for the jet age. Jeanneret brought the idea back to Geneva, and what came out of that collaboration became the Rolex GMT-Master reference, 6542. They started with the turnograph's rotating bezel and added a fourth hand linked to Greenwich Mean Time. That Bakelite bezel glowed in the dark, literally painted with radium, until safety concerns forced Rolex to recall and replace it with aluminum. It was waterproof, automatic, and legible under any light. Now let's take a closer look at that bezel and the myth that comes with it. Everyone says the GMT-Master's original bezel colors depict red for day, blue for night. It's a great story and completely wrong. There's no 1950s Rolex document that says that. More likely it came from a 1970s marketing copywriter who wanted to make a 24-hour bezel easier to understand. The real origin? Inspired by the Douglas DC-4's attitude indicator, blue for sky, red for ground, chosen to cut glare and stand apart from Glycine's all-steel bezel design. Everyone loves to repeat the night and day myth, but the truth is more aviation nerd than astrology. When Pan Am introduced its Boeing 707 fleet, each captain, first officer, flight engineer, and navigator was issued the watch, logged by serial number. When that ended, ALPA, the pilots' union, helped pilots buy them, with a 30% discount. Through the 1960s and 70s, the GMT-Master kept finding its way into cooler and cooler stories. In 1964, it made it into a Bond film. Honor Blackman, as Pussy Galore, wore a Rolex GMT-Master in Goldfinger. She is introduced as a professional pilot, so her wearing a pilot's GMT was a subtle nod to realism. Jack Swigert flew with his Rolex aboard Apollo 13. So did Edgar Mitchell on Apollo 14. Astronauts routinely flew with personal timepieces under their suits, even strapped to an ankle. The Rolex, pilot's tool, was a natural fit across multiple eras, including Johnny Kim on the ISS today. Of course, the watch also became popular with Air Force fighter pilots. The Cyclops lens, which magnifies the date at 3 o'clock, started out as an optional feature. So once the Cyclops became standard in the early 1960s, some made a habit of having it removed because it obscured the time. During the Vietnam War, pilots at Air America wore them too. In a 1979 interview, Chuck Yeager joked, "I've broken Mach 1, Mach 2, Mach 3, but I've never broken a Rolex," a line that Rolex actually reused in brochures. Yeager appeared in multiple print ads. He called it his travel watch, reportedly keeping one hand on Edwards time and the other on Greenwich Mean Time when coordinating flight test schedules with NATO and NASA. Tom Selleck's Magnum PI made the Pepsi bezel a pop culture icon in the 80s. Harrison Ford and Clint Eastwood wore them, Eric Clapton, Marlon Brando, Dizzy Gillespie, and even Fidel Castro. This is how a watch designed to conquer jet lag became a legend. But by the 2000s, something changed. The GMT-Master went from a professional's tool to luxury currency. This may be the perfect pilot's watch, if you can find one. This is the modern Rolex GMT-Master 2 reference, 126710 BLRO, better known to watch nerds as the Pepsi, is the latest chapter in a legend that started at Pan Am. At 40 millimeters in Rolex's corrosion-proof oyster steel, it's compact, dense, and unmistakably Rolex. Water-resistant to 100 meters, with a sapphire crystal, and that two-tone Cerachrom bezel, a single virtually scratch-proof, corrosion-resistant, and fade-resistant ceramic piece fired in red and blue. That's not paint, it's chemistry. A process Rolex guarded for years until they finally perfected the color split in 2014. Inside is the Caliber 3 285, Rolex's latest generation GMT movement. 70 hours of power reserve, Chronergy escapement for efficiency, Cerachrom hairspring for anti-magnetism, and Paraflex shock absorbers because travel is not gentle. Certified superlative chronometer, it runs within plus or minus 2 seconds per day. The trick that made the GMT famous since the 1980s is still here, an independent jump hour hand. Pull the crown and you can set local time in 1-hour jumps without stopping the seconds. The red 24-hour hand keeps home, or Zulu, time steady. Spin the bezel and you've got a quick third time zone. The Jubilee bracelet brings back vintage charm, but hides solid link engineering and a 5mm Easy Link extension that handles wrist swelling during a long flight. The Oyster bracelet offers a sportier tool watch stance. And yet, it's not just a pilot's tool anymore. It's a status symbol on a wait list. Retail around 12 grand. Market price? Nearly double, if you can buy your way past the velvet rope. Very nice watches, sold by awful people. That's what people say. So let's talk about what that actually looks like in practice. Something I'll call the path to a Pepsi. Step 1, spend 40 grand on jewelry you don't want. Step 2, wait 2 years. Step 3, get offered a two-tone date just instead. Step 4, go gray market anyway. Step 5, pay double for what used to be a pilot's watch. Here's how it works. The authorized dealer, or AD, is your first gatekeeper. The manufacturer's suggested retail price for a GMT-Master 2 with a Pepsi bezel in 2025 is $11,300. But you can't just walk into a boutique and buy one. These aren't sold, they're allocated. Here's the thing no one will admit to. ADs don't keep waiting lists. ADs keep client lists in internal spreadsheets of who gets what. To make the list, you have to build a relationship, which is code for spend money. Buy an Air King, maybe a Deep Sea. Want this stupid Rolex Yachtmaster 2 in solid gold? Heck, you can walk out of the store with it today. Your wife has a birthday coming up? Maybe some high-margin jewelry, or this Yachtmaster with the white dial could be the perfect thing. They're tracking every receipt. Spend $50,000, maybe $100, over time, depending on the city, and your relationship score improves. That's when you might get the call for a Pepsi at the retail price. And if you don't get the call, that's fine. Someone else will, and they'll flip it within 24 hours. Welcome to the gray market. Rolex's unofficial second economy on platforms like Chrono24, Bob's Watches, eBay, etc. These are the same watches, brand new, just sold outside the official network by gray market dealers or flippers. Think of it like the stock market, only shinier. Why it exists is simple. Demand dwarfs supply. The gap between what Rolex charges and what buyers are willing to pay is enormous. That $11,000 Pepsi instantly becomes a $22,000 watch. Here's how the arbitrage works. Step 1, a buyer gets the call and buys at MSRP. Step 2, they immediately sell it to a gray dealer for $18,000 to $20,000. Step 3, the dealer resells it to an impatient collector for $22,000 to $25,000. Everyone profits. The customer makes 7 to 9 grand overnight. The dealer pockets another 3 to 5. The final buyer gets the watch now, instead of waiting years on a phantom list that doesn't really exist. Business schools call it strategic scarcity. I call it a luxury Ouroboros, the snake eating its own crown. Rolex controls production to keep demand permanently higher than supply. They don't need to sell you a watch. They just need to sell the idea that you can't have one. It's brilliant and kind of evil. Scarcity drives hype. Hype fuels price. Price fuels prestige. Prestige fuels more scarcity. And the irony? The people who built Rolex legend, pilots, adventurers, professionals, can't even buy the watches designed for them anymore. Collectors became speculators. Watches became the new crypto. The Pepsi's premium over retail is now permanent, a built-in tax for wanting what everyone else wants. In 1955, the GMT-Master was a pilot's instrument. In 2025, it's an asset class. So yes, very nice watches, sold by awful people.
Hey, don't hate the player, hate the game.
That's the phrase that always comes to mind when I think about Rolex. The GMT-Master was built for us, designed to help us do our jobs. But somewhere between Pan Am and Instagram, Rolex lost the plot. I love this watch. The history, the engineering, the design, the way the bezel clicks like a cockpit switch. In 2023, Rolex produced 1.24 million watches. Yet somehow there's still a pretend 3-year wait list for a watch forged from unobtainium. Authorized dealers aren't salespeople anymore. They're gatekeepers. Spend enough or be famous enough, flatter the right people, and you might get the call. ADs have created a luxury apartheid. Ordinary buyers pay double, while VIPs skip the line. In aviation, professional courtesy still means something. Rolex's world, courtesy is bought, not earned. Don't hate the player, hate the game. The GMT-Master 2 is one of the greatest pilot watches ever made. No question, it's reliable, functional, beautifully engineered. A timepiece that connects generations of aviators, from the golden age to the modern era. I've never been treated badly walking into a Rolex store. Everyone's polite. They smile, offer espresso, but also remind you there is no professional courtesy in the boutique. They don't care if you fly for a living. Their business doesn't value relationships. It values purchase history and clout. And I don't have enough of either. This isn't about bitterness. It's about perspective. We want this watch because of the way it connects us with the past, with what it means to put on the uniform and go to work. Something we'll feel good about when we slip it on before a trip. Something to pass on when we've set the brake for the last time. But as pilots, we get to choose who we support. Somewhere along the line, Rolex stopped being the brand for professionals and became the brand for everyone else who can afford it. There are still brands out there that represent striving, not flexing. So yeah, love the watch, disappointed by the brand. And maybe that's okay, because the story of the GMT-Master doesn't belong to Rolex anymore. It belongs to every pilot who ever set a watch, pushed the throttles up, and chased the horizon. Very nice watches, sold by awful people. Maybe one day they'll remember who they were built for. Tell me in the comments if you think I've got this wrong, or if you've had better luck with Rolex than I have. And subscribe if you still think pilot watches should be for pilots too.